what is your birth date and current address?
I was born November 22nd, 1920,
Okay, and your current address?
906 6th Street, Wamego,
What war did you serve in?
World War II,
And what branch?
U.S. Army Air Corps,
What was your rank?
Staff Sergeant.
And where did you serve?
I served in the United States and in Italy.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I enlisted
Where were you living at the time?
in Wamego.
Why did you join?
Well, it was either join or be drafted.
Why did you pick the service branch you joined?
Why? Well, I thought if I got in the Air Corps, I wouldn't be in the mud, and I was mistaken.
Do you recall your first days in service?
The first days, yes. I enlisted at Fort Riley, and I went to Fort Leavenworth, where I was issued clothing. Those were the first days.
Tell me about your boot camp and training exercises.
I had my training at Coffeyville, Kansas. Do you know where Coffeyville is?
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't very happy about it. I thought I was going to Texas. And I was in Coffeyville from not long after I enlisted until the early part of January of 1943.
Do you remember your instructors?
Some of them, they were generally very reasonable.
Was your training very difficult?
No.
Where exactly did you go in Italy?
Well, I was stationed at an air base a few miles north of a little town in southern Italy called Manduria. It's in the heel of the boot. And it had been a German airfield at one time.
Do you remember arriving there?
Yes.
What was that like?
Well, things were in not very good shape. Our supplies, which had supposedly been unloaded in Bari, Italy, was bombed by the Germans, so we didn't have very much to work with. Our tents and things like that they were gone, so we lived in the mud for a couple, 3 weeks.
What was your job?
I was an electrician in a heavy bombardment group, and we had B-24s. They were a large bomber, 4 engines, big airplane at that time.
Did you see combat?
No.
Were there many casualties in your unit?
Yes, not by the ground crew, but by the flight crews. We lost a lot.
Tell me about a couple of your most memorable experiences.
Well, I went to Rome. I spent New Year's Eve in Rome at the end of 1944. And the USO there had a dance, and all of the Italian girls came to the dance, and they came with their mothers. The most memorable things, though, were the airplanes that didn't come back.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
Only the Good Conduct Medal, and there was another Distinguished Service Medal with bronze leaf cluster. This was a group medal. It was awarded to all of the squadrons in our group.
Is there anything else you want to tell us about the war? Like,
Oh, there were good times. We used to go to a town called Taranto, which was on the coast of Italy, and it was a nice, really nice town. The Italians were nice to us, and at the end of the Normandy invasion, a lot of the naval ships came to Toronto to get ready for an invasion of southern France. And I had a chance to go aboard the battleship Arkansas. And they had ice cream.
Would you enlist again if given the opportunity? Like, if you had to do it all over again, would you do it again?
Well, under certain circumstances, yeah. Not at my age, though.
Is there anything else you want to add, Amber?
Maybe what did you learn anything about, maybe like, is there any advice that you could give to people that have to make decisions about war today?
Well, the war I was in was a completely different situation than the Korean War, the Vietnam War, Desert Storm, and Iraq. They're entirely different. In the case of World War II, we were attacked by the Japanese, and that really got us into the war. It was a different time. I don't know that I can't blame people for some of the ways they think about war today, because they're different. They're too political.
So do you agree with the choices maybe that the presidents or the leaders at the time of World War II of the United States, do you agree with the decisions that they made?
Yes. Sometimes they didn't make very good decisions.
Do you remember, like, the end of the war, coming home to your family?
I was in Italy when the war in Europe ended, and everything stopped, and we played a lot of baseball. And when I came home, I had 30 days leave, so I came back. My mother lived here. I had two brothers, and one was in the Navy and one was in the Army. Of course, they were gone. But I had 30 days of doing what I wanted to. And then I went back to Fort Leavenworth, and they didn't know what to do with me, along with a bunch of other people. So we fooled around for a while, and finally I was shipped out of there. But I was in El Paso, Texas, when the Japanese surrendered, and all at once the gasoline stations were selling all the gasoline you wanted, and all the lights were turned on. It was a big party.
So you had two brothers that also served in World War II?
Yeah.
Did either of them see combat?
My brother in the Navy was on a ship, and I don't know really much about it, but I've heard him talk about the kamikazes.